going live. I'm live. All right. I think I maybe got this working. I'm doing a YouTube live and an Instagram live. The only thing is that Instagram is only going to save for 1 hour, or Instagram is only going to play for 1 hour. So I'm going to try to be quick. If I go over, I'll be going over here on YouTube live. So you can either follow me on YouTube live, Lulubell Toys. You are obviously, if you're following me on Instagram, good job. Thanks. Thumbs up. Hey everybody. Hey, welcome. Thank you for joining. I'm going to try to go quick in the beginning here, so that I can get all this stuff covered. So I've been talking about doing some different projects here through Instagram, through YouTube, doing some different contest ideas, some other upcoming weirdo things. So I thought that I just had to add one more to the list. There wasn't enough ideas for me to come up with to try to get implemented in the beginning of this year. So what I did was I found, as some of you guys may know, I had a big fire here in Tokyo. My studio that I was in caught on fire. I lost like 90% of everything. It was crazy. But my other studio that I had was fine. And I've been now that I'm combined both of those studios into this one much smaller space, everything was just sort of piling up, accumulating. And so I've been going through and trying to clean up all the boxes, clean through everything, look at what everything is. And I found stuff like this. So I found a big, huge box of, oh yeah, I forget the angles aren't right. So I found stuff that's made up of all these old paper clay sculpts. Just weird shapes that I was kind of futzing and fumbling around with just to try to figure out what the hell I was doing. You can see there's a face there. I'm an alien face guy. So there's all kinds of stuff in this box. I have two big ones of it. So I wanted to do a video that I'm gonna save onto Instagram, so that we have sort of like a running tally of what everything is. But basically, you aren't going to be able to see it on YouTube yet, but we'll get this all on Instagram. So basically, these are all just like a whole range of different things that I just fiddled around with, and just kind of went into a box or just went somewhere else while I was still trying to figure out, something else. Or, it's kind of like doodling. They're doodles or whatever, saving your doodles. So all this stuff is accumulated, and what I'd like to do is do a project reaching out to different sculptors, reaching out to different designers, and sending them these parts so that they can sculpt whatever they want on it. They can make any changes. They can do, they can end up making sort of like their own figure from it. Let's see. I got to figure out. This is hard, you guys. Trying to figure out all this angling stuff. So this is all done in paper clay. And one of the things here, let me turn this around so that we're looking. Let's see. So, here's an example of a part that, there's just, I don't know, hundreds of these little pieces. It's paper clay, so you can go over it, you can carve into it, you can wetten it, add stuff to it, you can primer it, and you can build upon it in Super Sculpey or epoxy, whatever materials you're using to sculpt in. So what the project will be is I will get all these parts up and labeled and numbered, and then reach out to the all of you, reach out to my community around me, and have people say, okay, I want parts 1, 12, 64, and 89. I think I can make something out of that. And then I'll send you a box. I'll send you a box of parts. Um, we'll figure out how the pay structure works. We'll figure out how the implementation of once that figure is at market, what we then all can do with the figure that's gone to market. And then my idea with it, I guess, is kind of like, and then these, anybody that then takes on sort of like the task of resculpting the thing um, will kind of be sort of like an ambassador of that figure, and hopefully that will help lead to other things, or even if it's just that one thing, that's good enough too. So here you can see, I'm going to zoom in on Instagram first. You can see here on YouTube what I did. This was I was reading Johnny Ryan's Prison Pit, and I had sculpted just a rough little mock-up of his main character from Prison Pit, Cannibal Fuckface, and sent an email out to him. Hey, I really love your stuff. I'm really into it. Would you be into making toys? And he was like, I just talked to a guy 2 weeks ago who's making it. So shout out to Monster Worship. But that's a perfect example of how stuff just kind of sits to the side. You can see here, I went in and just with a little carving tool, went in and just carved in some weird details and stuff. Let me see if I can match this up a little bit better for now. There. So, I just went in and carved in, just following lines or doodling or whatever. I've got a bunch of, here's Jesus, I think, maybe Frankenstein Jesus. I probably got a bunch of Frankenstein stuff. Here's, random bodies, some alien potato derpy thing. So, maybe in some of this stuff, there's something where you see something that, I just didn't see, or I just wasn't into, or my attentions got taken away. And so maybe you can just take this piece and then, run with it, do something cool. It needs to be able to pull. Obviously there's restrictions, there's sculpting restrictions. So hopefully once I get a handful of different tutorials down and then start sending these out, people will be able to look through the tutorials. They'll be able to know just sort of general pitfalls or things you want to be aware of when sculpting. Maybe you see this guy and you're like, oh, I totally see who this doodad is. I'm gonna sculpt his arms, sculpt his legs. I'm gonna give him a sweet pelt. I don't know. Maybe you see him and he's a caveman, and he needs some, tiger pelt thrown over his shoulder, or I don't know. Let's see. I think that's going to be the real fun part. That's going to be the real interesting part, is seeing how far stuff evolves, devolves, morphs, change. Again, I really want to try to bring this idea across to everybody of how much stuff can really sort of shift around as it goes through each hand. So, here's some just loose, lumpy, dopey head thing that I almost dropped. Maybe you see someone in there and you're like, I want to sculpt that guy. There's all kinds of stuff. There's, what I thought was going to be a body part at one point, and I was just putting in these sort of spiral. I had made the form of the body, and then I put in different little carved in different textures into the base form, and then built up other textures around it. So, this is all really super early stuff. This is when I was still just kind of like trying to figure out what is sculpting, how do you build layers, how do you build texture, how do you make it look like a cool thing. I guess my idea here was that, this is sort of like a kind of a bean shaped body, this being the front. Um, Maybe he has a tail coming out here or something coming out here. Typically, these sort of kaiju monster bodies are pulled from the tail, and they'll have more of the pull of direction going in a more dramatic way, so that when it stands up, things are really kind of coming out, really looking at the viewer. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe this was never intended to be a body. Maybe this is maybe that's a head, or maybe it's a car. I don't know. Maybe it's a spacecraft. So I think that'll be fun, and it'll be kind of like a fun, interesting little project to do. I'm still looking through stuff. I have one giant hand. I guess at one point, as you do, and you're sitting in art class, and you're like, "I'm gonna sculpt my hand." Again, I don't know if you can see, but like one finger is like much thinner. One finger is super, super thick. These ones actually look more like, fleshy. The pinky and the ring finger look a bit more like fleshy, sausagey, thick little digits. And these two over here look much more bony. So I don't know if I was, conjuring up my high school teenage years where you draw like, half a skeleton hand, skeletal fingers coming out of a real hand or something. Um, a lot of this stuff also is really, me learning just how this material works, how my tools work, how I translate my ideas or concepts or whatever. How do I digitally, physically digitally manipulate them? Me, 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 me. And was I able to bring my idea across? You know, um, a lot of times, a lot of this stuff is just like, I think in the very beginning, I probably was maybe nervous about working with this stuff, or I don't know, there's just sort of an idea of preciousness when you, I think, very first start working in different mediums, and you're a little reticent to really kick the tires and go balls to the wall, batshit weird. You're just sort of like, what does this do? And it just takes kind of like doing it over and over again for it to go, oh, okay, I guess I see what that does. Um, and you could just sit down with your one piece and just, labor over that one over and over again until you figure it out. Or you could just, knock out a bunch of weirdo doodles, or ooh, wild, weirdo shapes. So I don't even know. I'm not even sure what this shape was, but I was just kind of, futzing around with line and textures and forms and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe it was a cactus or a hat. Um, Maybe these are the hips, and there's legs that come down. I have a ton of all these little noodly parts too, little long parts that I'm sure were, me trying to do arms, or me trying to do legs. As I was, sculpting all this stuff, I was still also trying to figure, what's a figure, what's a form, what's a thing. So there's a whole bunch of arms. Hello. Oh, I got a comment. Let's see. Pat's group says barrel cactus. Could very well be. Could very well be. I think that'll be sort of the real fun in all of this, is just seeing, if the barrel cactus stays a barrel cactus. I actually really like this guy. I should make this guy. I should go through it and pick out some of my my choice ones and make figures from that. And I think that would really show people kind of a little bit of what I'm talking about, of how you can just take any one of these old sitting around in a box parts and what you can turn it into. Um, this guy actually might be a really good contender for my Oyabun no Omiyage project, which is a joke item on the based on that sort of cut off finger gag. So maybe this is the other face of a what is a nubby thumb or a nubby finger or something. Oh, all butterfingers today, but that might be cool. It might be good. So cool, one down. What I really want to do is, yeah, there's all kinds of other weird stuff too, where like I had taken uh, some junk toy and wrapped it in paper clay, and then I like would just sort of like put in weird textures or just sort of look at just kind of building out these humanoid forms or try to look at like what's a animal form. Here's a dapper gentleman. This is obviously a riff on the four-eyed Oni Lulubelle Toys logo, but in a much more gentlemanly gentlemanly way. So yeah, I don't know, maybe that's something somebody out there sees and says, hot diggity, I got just the idea for that there Oni bat doodad. Here's just some random legs, hips, pants, shoes. This is very clearly a la Dahara. Most certainly must have been channeling my inner Dahara when I made these pants and shoes. I think a lot of this stuff, a lot of this early stuff, either it's just like so weird out there, doesn't make any sense, blobby, just blobby shape, and maybe there's some eyes and a mouth in there. Or it's me just kind of like doing direct rips or direct things on people's stuff. This is, I think, actually a bird body, the best I can surmise. I think there was like maybe little feet came out here, and there's a little bird head. But I don't know. Maybe you'll see a bunch of different parts, and from all the parts that I post, then it's like, oh well, I could make a guy out of this thing. Chaos. Let's see if the stuff doesn't get broken first. Here's this one's kind of cute. This is little. This is like a little skirt, little feet, little arm and a hand coming up. So I was probably thinking maybe like a finger puppet. Maybe I needed to do the other arm and ran out of time, or do the head. Maybe, you know. Hi, hello. Love me. Love me as one of your own. There's stuff that was like very finished where I actually like covered it in surfacer. So I might go through some of these and just pull some of the stuff that was like, well, that was at a finished point. Maybe this can mash up with something else. Okay, yeah, so that's what I'll do. I will go through, I'll pull out the ones that I can actually just cast and start pulling immediately. I'll put aside a few of the ones that I can see just need a little bit of work to change or finish up or just follow through. Here's what was my idea for some body, a very pineapple-y looking feller with some little weird bumps on the bottom. Um, and I remember I stopped this one because the way that I lined everything up was just all twisted and turned because I wasn't even looking when I was sculpting stuff. I wouldn't turn stuff around and look at it sculpting from all different angles. And that's really important when you're sculpting things. You really want to make sure that, a lot of times you get sort of focused on just looking at it head on, but you really want to turn it, you know, top side looking down, downside looking top. You want to look at it from all different angles. And if you're able to really, you know, manipulate your sculpt in whatever way, it will really help you kind of line things up, find stuff that's more balanced, more straight. And I think I just kind of like got frustrated at one point because I put so much time and effort into all this texture. And then it was just like, oh, the arms are like way back here. It's all fucked up. But I remember making this piece. I shot up out of bed. I was like laying down in bed and I just had this like pattern image like shoot into my head. And I was so compelled that like, 4 in the morning or three, whatever, I was just like, must do this. And I like went and got out the clay and made the form and, put in all this texture. And it was just like this, um, Richard Dreyfuss just building the mountain out of mashed potatoes kind of moment. So it would be cool to really see this piece, to see this part that I just was, physically moved to get up and out of bed, made into something. Um, so maybe it is you seeing this and you say, I see what I must do. I see what I'm compelled to make happen. Um, so Well, yeah, we'll figure that out. Some of the things that I'm a little bit concerned about are sending sculpts out to people that are really gung ho, really into it, and then for whatever reason, it just sits on their shelf. What I definitely don't want to be doing is mailing out potential burdens to someone else. I want to clear this stuff out of my space, clear out these burdens, um, clear out these projects that have just been sitting around that I wanted to do something with and just didn't have time. So I want to make sure that I am reaching people that are like, no, damn it, I've got time. I've got an extra 2 weeks, or I've got a month of noodling around, an hour here and an hour there, and I'd like to make a figure. And using these forms, using these base, will help ensure that it's the within the right size or within the right kind of restrictions of what can and can't be pulled in vinyl. Um, Neil Ewing says you could do like a contract. Yes, I mean, I that's a good point. I mean, I definitely will be for anybody that does come on to the project. Um, I'll put up a real loose and rough contract that covers both of us just to make sure, just to lay out sort of like, here are your roles, here's what you're sort of on the line for, here are my roles, here's what I'm on the line for, which is really just sort of standard contract stuff that we do with anybody that we work with, just to help kind of lay out the parameters of the project. But what I was talking about, my concern is that I'm sending stuff out to people that are gung ho in the moment or interested, or says, yes, I've got a month of doing 30 minutes a day to get this thing finished, or I've got some free time allocated next month that I'd be able to finish that up. Um, so I've got to just figure out what it is, how can I um, give people the best information, give them the best stuff to be able to hit the ground running. And, it's sort of like a relay race, and I'm handing the stick and then the next person is grabbing it, they're running and they're sending the stick back to the next step in line. So I realize this might, in sounding it out, I mean, it does sound a little bit like a lofty idea. Um, I mean, obviously, of course, I can't control what happens in people's lives. I mean, all sorts of things go on. Obviously, all sorts of things take you away from what it is that you're able to do or what you have time on your plate to do. But that being said, I just want to be really careful to not send stuff out that's just going to burden everybody else and just be like, here, I'm cleaning out my place. You guys deal with it. So I wonder what something like that could be. I wonder if it's like if you sign up for the project, um, you need to commit to like doing a weekly update on where that project is. Um, and then if that project like falls behind in some ways, then maybe somebody else who wanted that sculpt, but instead the like okay, so wait, if person A gets sculpt 1, 2, 3, and 4, or parts 1, 2, 3, and 4, and person B wants parts 2 and 4. Um, but person A already has them. If there's sort of like a system in place that's like, okay, well, if you miss like 3 weekly updates, um, or 3 weekly posts or whatever, then person B could then get parts um, 2 and 4, something like that. So maybe if it was like kind of structured a bit more like kind of like a game, I think that might work. And then that way, everybody that is sort of following along, it has maybe a bit more vested interest in kind of like not keeping track of everybody, because I don't want to be like I don't want it to be this thing where we're just like monitoring everyone, but in a community, a community is a group of people talking and talking about stuff and being like, here's where it's at, here's what's going on. And even if it does turn out that it like is a burden and you're like posting, for your week, it's like, oh, I'm behind a week, here's what's going on with that. And then other people will chime in and say, hey man, you could do it, come on, and then your second week, oh man, I'm 2 weeks behind, and then people are like, no man, don't worry, you can do it, we got you, and then your third week is like, all right, man, here's what I got, here's what's going on, and then people are like, yeah, right on, we knew it. Um, Maybe that's something that might happen in that sort of context. Um, Last Electron says, is each person making a full figure or one part of a figure? Very good question. I suspect because I have so many different parts, I mean, I have so many different head parts, I have so many different body parts, I have so many different arms and legs and random other piece parts, that I suspect that when I put it all out, people would be able to pick through parts to say, oh, I see if I just change this here or just do this here, or, you know, do whatever sculpting I need to do to bring all these pieces aesthetically together. I think that's probably what most people might do. I I mean I would guess, but I think also there's stuff where, maybe somebody, just gets a head, and from that head they see a whole character that they can build out from that. Or even if it's just from one part, and then seeing, oh, I can build out from that one part, like this whole other thing kind of comes to mind or sparks an idea. um, I'd love to see all of them. I mean, I'd love to see all of that stuff happen, frankly. Yeah, gotta get your tea in. um, yeah, so I guess we'll see, how it all sort of pans out. um, Maybe with some of these projects it would be good to do like some hashtag or do some thing that kind of unifies all the different people on all different platforms and stuff. And then it can go through the Lulubelle Toys lens so that, people that are following Lulubelle Toys can see the updates or can see the progress from other people that have joined in on the project, see what things are going out. Um, if you were eyeballing, or if that really wanted part number 3 and 4, you'll see it'll be like, oh, part 3 and 4 went out over to this guy, and so that guy might be on your radar, or that girl might be on your radar. And so, you might be kind of just watching them. Maybe you're cheering them along. Maybe you're kind of like, hey, just so you know, I'm chomping at your bits, and they're like, oh, shit, okay, I got a little extra pressure. I think some of that little, friendly rivalry always is fun, makes things fun and interesting, lets people know, like, hey, you know, I see you out there, and it gives you, again, more of that kind of like community. The Path Group says, "I like this idea. It's like a group art project that become a new line of toys." Yeah, yeah, basically. Um, I hear from a lot of people. Well, so here's what it was. I mean, I was looking at this box of stuff, and I was going, "Man, I really want to just sit down and just like knock all this stuff out." And in hearing that, I hear, I look around all this place, and I go, "Man, I really just want to sit down and just like knock out all of that bigger stuff." And a lot of this stuff is just I'm never short on ideas. I'm constantly short on time. So I'm going to start implementing stuff that helps utilize my time better so I can work through all these projects. I can work through stuff that I want to. But also, I realize that by bringing people into the fold, by talking about this stuff, by showing you guys um, very physically and clearly how stuff works, how stuff doesn't work, by having that type of dialogue, um, it serves the whole community. It is of greater service to the whole community than for me to just sit down and kind of hammer it out and figure it out. So I like this idea of sending people this kind of little seed of something that they can then sit down, do whatever work they need to do to get it to market. Um, and I think maybe that seed in an idea, a sparking idea, but also in the greater sort of like communal sense of people being aware of like, okay, this person's working with that seed. It's going to be part of this toy line. I'm going to follow that as it goes through. I'm sure people are going to make some stuff where, other people are like, no, I don't like it. No, I'm not interested. Pass. And that's fine. That's that's how the market works. But um, maybe by doing this, it will help people kind of get a just another layer or an added layer to how toy lines can evolve or how toy lines can come to be. And I really do like doing a lot of this sort of conceptual stuff that's told through the lens of manufacturing, told through the lens of toy making. I think it's a just I don't know what it's just it's another like layer to the figure that people can come to and connect on, or overlook or not care about it. I mean, you never really know how stuff is going to fare in the general market, but I think this idea may work. I don't know. I'm willing to try it. I'm willing to try it out. So I wanted to, as I was thinking about it, I wanted to jump on here, put that all out there, let you guys know that it's something that I'm going to start working on, and then let me know. Send me any messages, uh, any questions, concerns, hopes, dreams, wishes. Um, whatever you think about what you would like if you see if you see a project like this and you can make some weirdo you can make some weirdo monster and you're like, yeah, I want to make a weirdo monster. Ding, 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 ding. My dude John says love the idea. Cool. So we're on the right path. At least we're making some headway. Maybe maybe you see a little, you're like, oh, look at that little guy. I see him. He needs pants. I'm gonna sculpt pants on him. Or oh, he doesn't have any arms. I'm gonna sculpt some arms for him. Or maybe his neck's a little too squatty. I want to sculpt them, give him a nice little longer neck. Um, we will see this little, just weird little, this guy obviously has got the lean back. When I sculpted him, I was like, that's a pretty drastic back lean, and you, when you're very first starting, you don't really know what's balanced, what's not balanced, so you're just kind of making these sort of shapes. And you put it down, you're like, oh, when I make that in vinyl, that thing is definitely not going to stand up. That thing is most certainly going to fall backwards. So, there's all kinds of weird stuff that, like, maybe this form actually has two wings coming down that's making it like a tripod, and it's a cricket, with his wings sculpted into his back, and that's going to keep this form sort of upright. And then, there's, I don't know, some head that sits on top, somewhere like this, so that while the form has a really drastic kind of lean back, just a really weird pose position, structurally sculpted with wings coming out of his back, it would actually stand upright. It wouldn't fall over. But looking at on the shelf, you'd kind of go, what? How the hell does that thing stand up? So it's going to take, a lot of this stuff is really going to take some kind of out of the box thinking, doing some weird little sort of problem solving. Here you go. I made a this guy Fuji-san. I'm what the hell am I, Fuji? But yeah, it'll take a little bit of, outside of the box thinking, just some weird, you're gonna have to, use your noodle. You're gonna have to figure that stuff out. And I think what I'll do through the project is, okay, so let's say there's 10 people. I get feedback. I get an answer from like 10 people, and all those 10 people go through everything, and they send me all their wish lists, and then I figure out, okay, well, this can go there, this can go there, that can go there. And then what I'll do is then I'll just post like through, I guess maybe we'll do it like through Instagram. Seems to be the best. That's where I have the most people kind of looking at all this stuff, and through Instagram on Grody Shogun, through Lulubell Toys. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna figure that out as well. But then, so those 10 people will all have those parts. So what I'll do is then I'll post like, okay, okay, brand A, you get 1, 5, 12, and 9. Brand B, you get 84, 36, 127. Brand C, so people will see everybody that got what parts. They'll know that that's shipped out to them. And then they'll have like basic guidelines, basic rules, or whatever, how that works. And then any progress through that sculpting is going to be public through Instagram, or yeah, I guess if you're not on Instagram, you can't really join this. So maybe I can see if there's a way I can figure out how, if you're not on Instagram, you can still participate. If anybody has any ideas, let me know. But as you would do those updates on the sculpt, you would be posting those, so people that are following can also see the progress, the progression of those parts that came in, and what's being done with them, how they're being changed, what those are then morphing into. And then I'll be able to look through, let's say we use like a set hashtag for it, then I'll be able to go through, say once a week, I'll know to set in like, okay, I better go through and check everything with the hashtag that I haven't gone through and liked yet. And then I'll make any comments about what would work and what wouldn't work as far as the sculpting process goes, or as far as, anything like that. So that dialogue will all be just sort of out there in the open. People can then follow, can see that, and can see, oh, okay, they had to make this change, or, oh, I see he wanted to do that. I see he's saying that doesn't work. And then that way, I think in that dialogue or in that back and forth, I think will also be really helpful, really beneficial for people to see, again, that sort of weird unknowing of like what will and won't work as far as like the manufacturing process is concerned. I find when I have these conversations about it, it's a lot of the main sticking points jump up all the time. Things like, let's see, damn it. Okay. Things like, parts, and this part actually should work. But things where parts they have maybe too much of a bend at the elbow, or they're too long and narrow. Um, it's not really a great example of a bad part, but like parts should be able to pull out freely. They should be thick enough so that the mold can pull it easily and freely. There's nothing catching on it. There's no bubble issues. Things are just sort of sliding out with minimal effort, and don't have any undercuts. Don't have any problems with pooling of bubbles or other weirdo stuff like that. And those kind of generally are a lot of the same issues, sort of, that we all kind of tend to repeat. I mean, I will say caveat. Again, I've said it before, but whenever I say like, "Oh, well, this isn't going to work," or "We need to change this," I'm just saying it's not going to work, and we need to make changes for the line in which I work, the manufacturing, the factories in which I work with. I've just worked with everybody long enough now. I know what they're going to say yes to, what they're going to be grumpy about and say no to, because we've just taken so many projects out. So I'm always just sort of answering on, for me and the people that I work with, here's the changes that need to be made. Now, if that's not to say you as a self producer making your own thing couldn't take that project to another manufacturer, and that manufacturer, using the materials, the equipment, using the setup they have set up, they might not have an issue with that at all. Um, so for anything that you're doing self-produced, you get a hard no from me for whatever reason. Doesn't mean it can't be done. In fact, I've had a ton of clients that have sent me stuff, um, that I said, sorry, it's not going to work here, and then later find it. They went through, they pushed it through it, and I'll see those toys at conventions. I'll see those toys on Instagram, and I'm always like, fuck yeah, right on. I'm always saying this stuff is about zigging and zagging, like getting that idea across in whichever way you can. So there you go. There you go with that. I feel like I need to make not a club. What is it? Like some fraternal order of the Sofubi Gnostics or something like that, and reach out like some fight club like thing where it's like I just need people in all strata of things who who can help out, where it's like, I don't know how to do this contest. What do I do? And they're like, oh, do this. And I'll be like, yes, I will follow. I mean, I am learning as I'm going how this stuff is kind of a little bit playing out. So hopefully we will see. I'm still finishing up some older projects, so hopefully we will see, as I've been kind of saying, around the beginning of February, stuff to really kind of ramp up, kick up. Nobody says kick up. Ramp up. I think I was like combining kick out and ramp up. Let's get it kicked up. But yeah, probably around February is where I'm going to start really implementing all this stuff. Different things are going to start coming out, either sort of in their slow trickle form or in their final big, bold, nicely packaged looking thing. as far as these ideas and these projects that I want to get started on. There's some really cool new figures that we're working on over here that I'm really excited about. I think they're going to be contenders for, you know, awesome toys in 2019, or the awesomest of awesome toys, the most spectacular of greatness that is in a toy. What else? There's I actually have not been putting much focus or energy on any 2019 events or conventions other than the stuff here in Japan. But I'd like to really start looking at what conventions I should be doing, where should I come out to. Um, I'd like to take this cutting it up with Grody out on the road. I'd like to go out to different places, um, do some do some live streaming from other locations, talk to other makers, do it as a little do it as a little series. I think it would be a lot of fun. So I've put out the call before, but let me know. Let me know if there's any conventions coming up in 2019 you think I should be a part of. Um, I'll look into adding it to the list and get that popping. You know, get stuff popping. I think it'd be cool to really come out and meet up with a lot of guys and gals and show all this stuff in person. Um, I'm getting some thumbs up. Altoy says 5 points. Um, yeah, I haven't done 5 points. I didn't do 5 points last year, but I did it the year before. Was it, or was it 2 years ago? Get they all kind of blend in together. Yeah, I'm definitely got either 5 points or New York Comic Con or maybe both. Um, but I definitely have 5 points on the radar. It was cool. The last time that I did it, it was really great. It was great to see the whole East Coast side. Because normally we just do the West Coast, or normally I do the West Coast and Amy will do the East Coast stuff. So it was cool. There's a lot of great, whole bunch of great maniacs out on the East Coast. It's funny too. I really like going on the East Coast because all the collectors have a very like "Hey, I'm from New York, fuck you, I like this thing, and then the people on the West Coast are like, this thing's cool, right? So I love both the coasts. It's cool to see everybody come out. It's cool to see people geeking out. It's really, I think one of the most interesting things is to see just how diverse this whole community really is. Um, deep down in all of your hearts, you're all a bunch of weirdos, but um, you all just run the whole gamut, the whole strata of people and wackadoos. So good job, everyone. Let's all give ourselves a little pat on the back for being the weirdos that we are. The Pathroom says, yes, Grody Travels, great show. Yeah, right. I need to get like a little promo plug thing that'll be like traveling with Grody, and it'll just be like a little cartoon image of some, fucked up Dumb and Dumber van, like, and it'll have a little soundtrack. Traveling with Brody. Yeah. And it'll really, boom, it'll hit you, and so that'll be a set day and time. And you're like, all right, man, where's Grody going today? It'd be like, no, it'd be like, where in the world is Grody Shogun? you know? And then you guys will all have to do clues to figure out where I am. Oh shit. How crazy would that be? That would be fun. Oh my god, that would be so funny to do like a real life where in the world is Carmen San Diego? And then it'll just be like I'll leave a toy somewhere. Like if you're in Butte, Montana, if you figure out where this thing is, There's a thing right there. That would be fucking funny as shit. Um, I wonder what my uniform would be, what my costume would be. I'd have to have like I feel it's sort of I feel it's kind of somewhere in line with like the Hamburglar, Hamburglar meets Where's Waldo meets obviously Carmen Sandiego. It sounded like some like JoJo's Adventure kind of uniform, some big like billowy hat, but like a mask and like stripes. And I feel like I'm just gonna be like some JoJo's Bizarre Adventure guy walking around Butte, Montana. They're gonna be like, "You ain't from around here, are you?" You're like, "No, I'm hiding a toy in your town." They're like, "Do we call the police on him or do we not call the police on him? What the fuck do we do with this guy?" Uh, that would be really funny though. I need to do so. If I do that, I definitely need to do one in Japan. Um, Going around because there's just so many different amazing artists, so many different places uh, to see how people make toys and do their stuff. And I think interviewing those Japanese guys would be fucking rad. I'm sure a lot of you guys would love to see how whatever artist you really like, how they set up their studios or how their things are, how their sausages are made. So that would be fun. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna say I'm not wearing a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure uniform because never say never. Um, but I don't, I don't know. It would have to be a pretty spectacular JoJo's suit for me to for me to be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna wear this JoJo suit every time I do this segment on the road. Where in the world is Brody Shogun? Um, it does bring up another point, which is exclusive. But I am thinking about changing the Grody Shogun name. I know, it's shocking. I'm thinking. I mean, I've been thinking about it for a long time. I've been thinking about it since after the fire. About killing Grody Shogun, seppuku, and then your buddy comes, cuts off your head. So I'm kicking around the idea, or I have been kicking around the idea for quite some time now about killing off Grody Shogun. New beginnings, new starts. I'm changing up all the infrastructure stuff. I'm changing up all the background noise. I'm changing up all the bullshit. Daddy's putting on a new pair of shoes. So I've really been seriously thinking about killing off Grody Shogun in a very, dramatic, symbolic way. I'm sure I would make a toy about it, which would be funny because then it would mean, you know, there would have to be a toy that you could decapitate my head as a toy. So, it's a good self-deprecating thing. But I think I'm gonna do it, but then I always know it's just like, it just kind of fucks with people when you change your brand name or you change something. Everybody's used to looking up that thing in Instagram or searching for things in that. And the switch over, I know it hurts my brain. So if it hurts my brain, it's probably gotta hurt your brain where you're like, wait, what? How do I think about this? Um, what do we got? I got I think that's a shocked face. I got eyeballs. I got a scrunchy face. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck emojis mean. I'm always like, anytime somebody sends me a fucking emoji, I'm always just like, I don't know, man. Unless it's an eggplant, I don't know what the fuck that means. But yeah, I mean, I like the name Grody Shogun. I like what Grody Shogun has afforded me, has allowed me to do, has given me the room to move around and fuck around and stuff. And I think I kind of want to push myself into a different design aesthetic or a different look or a different, I don't know, I just feel a lot of change, and I feel like my mind, my look, and my aesthetics kind of shifted along with it. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to be the brand where people are like, I like this older stuff more, you know? It's like if you're holding on to a brand identity that much that you're just like, I don't want to move along with wherever this person is moving, um, and you're hung up on the name or you're hung up on that brand or that identity, it can be really hard to shake. It can be hard to get people to kind of come along with you because you're built in as that one thing. Um, I mean, I'm still always gonna do like weirdo shit and stuff, but I just feel like with all the changes that I'm doing, by changing the brand name, by changing sort of like the look and feel and identity of it, um, I might lose some people, I might gain some other people, but I think it helps me sort of mentally categorize everything or put things in a text that makes it just a little bit easier to create and think. Um, as ideas evolve, as your environment evolves, as your personality evolves, as you age, as you've done things hundreds and thousands of times, I think it's good to clean out the cobwebs, kick up the dust, do weird shit, change things up, mix things up. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but you also don't want to be so married to an identity. You don't want to be just like, well, I'm this guy. I gotta do this for a million years. I mean, if that's your jam, if that's what you just love doing, and you just want to be the very best this guy that you could possibly be, um, and write it with its ups and downs, awesome. More power to you. But I think, where I'm at now, which is so much dramatic change, um, and then looking at trying to do all of this just really positive, upbeat stuff. I feel that a lot of my work, it could be self-imposed, but I just sort of feel like a lot of my stuff comes with a lot of heavy, what meaning, not meaning, but just comes with like, I don't even know, just comes with like whatever is built in, obviously, to all of that stuff. And so by changing the name and changing sort of like the brand and look and stuff, maybe it'll help make the weirdo stuff that I'm doing that's more in line with what I'm doing right now fit more in line with the look and feel of it. So, are you guys ready for the new name? Expectations. The Path Group said expectations. That's very good. Exactly. Yeah, having stuff come with expectations. Um, so the new name from Grody Shogun will be. Wouldn't that be funny if right now, because Instagram does 1 hour and then it cuts off. But I'm also doing on YouTube, though nobody's actually watching on YouTube. Everybody's only watching on Instagram. So I've got a minute and 39 seconds left. So wouldn't that be funny while I'm talking through YouTube and Instagram followers are actually following to hear what the new name is, and I'm doing the drum roll, and I'm like, and the new name that it's gonna be is as such to follow, rightfully so. It is, and then it cuts off, and then everyone's just like, "You fucking turd! I don't give a fuck what your name is anymore." It's like those like cliffhangers of the next season. The Path Group says, "What? Brody Blowgun? They'll never suspect me then." I'm like, guys, Brody Shogun has passed. But his brother, Bloody Blowgun, just came in from Buenos Aires. Welcome, Bloody Blowgun. And then I just always have to have a fake mustache. And I'm like, hey guys, how's it going? Really sorry to hear about my brother passing. Grody Shogun. I got really big shoes to fill, so I'm looking forward to being that guy that steps in and fills those new boots, and then the like fake mustache like falls. It's all. I'm like, you know, and then he dies, and then you bring in the guy with the unibrows. Oh, there's only 6 seconds left. My new name is gonna be Lucas Destroy. All right. Well, that was an hour. So YouTube, you guys are still here, although no one's actually here. It reminds me of the early days of just randomly talking into the void. Yeah, I'm probably, my goal is to do an hour all week long. This is week 3. I mean, do an hour all week long. This is day 3 of that week. That would be funny. Just like week 3, I haven't found a way to stop posting 1 hour every day on YouTube. Someone send help. I think I might have broken my brain. And then you just like do that until somebody eventually, like, you'll see a video of me like week 12, and then you'll see like the door open and somebody comes in and they're like, hey, you want to go get a coffee or something? Okay. I think more than anything, I'm just trying to do these 1 hour rants just to see if it's something I can actually commit to, because my schedule is so all over the place. If I'm not here, if I'm running errands, if I'm doing stuff for other people or for myself, I've got to go out to factories, I've got to do anything else. It can eat up a whole day. And so I just wanted to see, while this is not a particularly busy factory time right now, just see what committing to doing an hour every week is like. Because I think that's obviously how sort of fan base gets built, or how people will know to kind of like come check out or listen or whatever. Just like, oh, okay, well, I know he does it every day for an hour, usually around this time. Because my goal with all of this stuff really, while it is helpful for me to rant and ramble because it helps me kind of hash out ideas, um, my goal is to really be able to connect to you, my viewer. Thank you for viewing me in all of my viewability. But really, the idea here is to spread a message, to spread information, to be available and open in the best usage of my time and your time. Uh, I know life gets pretty hectic. We're all running around with our, trying to get our own projects done. So even if you're not a toy person, if you just like hearing what I'm talking about, and there's things that resonate and connect, and it's something that you can glean some knowledge from or some insight from, or maybe maybe you've got a question about how something works, within your industry that is somewhat similar, and if it's something that I can speak upon, or if I ask enough questions to figure out the shape of what your thing is, maybe I might be able to add some insight that helps us all out. So let's see, that's the lofty goal. Right now I'm having a hard time even um, you know berating my friends to subscribe to this channel, or berating berating people I know. Did you listen to that hour I post? I touched on some stuff. What do you think about that? And they're like, oh, yeah, no, I've just been busy. I'll get to that when I get to it. So hopefully I'll get a little bit better at all this stuff, so that they're like, no, it's cool. Yeah, I'll listen to you. I'll listen to you talk for an hour. Okay, well, I did an hour. Thumbs up. There's absolutely nobody here talking to me. I could go off on some other tangents, but I'm gonna wait to go off on tangents. I'll save my tangents for tomorrow's next hour. And plus, I still have a lot of other work to do. So, all right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching this at whatever point you do. If you have any questions or comments or anything, shoot me a message in the comments. I'll go through them and check them all out. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. And bye. I need to have a better sign out. I need to have a better like log off because I think I usually am like, okay, bye. I'm like, maybe there's something better. Although I do like the ones that just end